Welcome back, I'm Tedward, and today I want to talk about tracking your daily driver, because not all of us have the funds or space to have a dedicated track car. So a lot of us just end up taking our daily driver and hoping for the best. So I want to talk about what it takes from a maintenance perspective, what equipment you should have on the car, insurance, that's a big one, and how your attitude really impacts how much fun or heartbreak you're gonna have on a racetrack with a car that you need to take you home and the next day to work. This is my daily driver. I gave you a bit of Doug DeMuro in there, but this is my daily driver. It's a 2010 E92 M3. It has 99,700 something miles on it. So I'm basically tracking a 100,000 mile M3. So let's jump in the car, go for a drive, and talk about what you should be doing to prepare for your track days in your daily. Ignore all of my service lights. They are incorrect. First and foremost, you're gonna wanna make sure that you've got nice fresh fluids in your car. Do an oil service. I use FCP Euro. I put in Liqui Moly. And in addition to that, this season, I swapped out the differential fluid. Every so often, I also change my transmission fluid. DCT fluid's a little different than your typical manual transmission fluid, but do it. Make sure that your car is running happily and that it has the things it needs, because it's going to be running very hot. That's the bare minimum you can do for your car to make sure it's not going to blow up on a racetrack. But more importantly than just making sure that your engine doesn't blow up is making sure you don't crash into a barrier and die. So for the love of God, flush your brakes. You need to do a brake flush. If you can't remember the last time you did a brake flush, you need a brake flush. At the very least, go ahead and bleed them and make sure that there's no air in the lines. This is kind of a narrow bridge. You can go ahead. Ooh, and we're gonna talk about brake pads after. I like to run RBF 600 from Motul. I get it from Renscott, and a lot of folks just run like ATE Type 200. That's fine as well. I find, and I know there's people who disagree with me on this, but I find that the ATE that I was running before was getting a little mushy, and I don't know that it's totally suitable for a heavy car like my M3. The M3 is not a sports car by any means. It's a sporty luxury car, that's for sure. You get mad at me for that too. That's fine. You can go ahead and call your M3 a sports car, but I disagree. So now that you've done your job to make sure that your car isn't going to blow up and that you're going to be able to stop consistently, we can start talking about modifications, because a lot of people with their street cars make very weirdly dedicated track builds, yet don't go to the racetrack, and I don't really understand this. So my recommendation is, if you have a daily driver, it probably should be relatively normal and comfortable, and I don't think that you should be going out with a heavily modified daily to a racetrack, because if you're kind of new at this, you want to go explore the limits of your car, and whenever you make the car more capable, you're making those limits harder and harder to explore. Which brings me to the next most important point. Honestly, if you take nothing away from this, please take this away from it. Insure your car. Get track insurance. Your car insurance on the street does not cover the racetrack. It does not cover an HPDE. So here's the deal. This is not sponsored by Hagerty or Lockton, but Hagerty and Lockton are easy ways to get insurance. In fact, I usually use Hagerty. I used Lockton for the first time because Hagerty's website was down. It kept coming up with this error message, and I was trying to get my insurance the night before a track day. Yeah, so please get insurance on my car. I insure it for somewhere around $26,000, and it cost me $196 for the day. That may sound like a pain because you've already spent $300, $400, $500 on your track day, and you've got to go spend another $200. But I assure you, if you've been a $30,000 car, you'll be very much thankful that you spent $200 on the insurance. So please, get track insurance. Accidents happen. In fact, the last track day I went to, there were 3 totaled cars. I don't have video or photos of that because that is uncouth. You don't take photos of people's misfortune at a track day. You make sure they're okay, and then maybe you go off and look at where they left the car later on by yourself. This place is popping. Yes, Southwick Zoo is back. Now let's talk about some modifications. So while my car is not heavily modified, I do have a couple modifications that I like to use on the racetrack. So number 1, brake pads. I run G-Lock R12s in the front, G10s in the rear, and that helps me kind of balance out the car, but it also, when you run a street pad, they will basically liquefy, you know, under very heavy braking circumstances. So I run a track pad. The detriment of running a track pad on the street all the time, which I do, which is annoying, is the sound. So ready, I'm gonna show you how these sound. This is not pretty. That gets annoying. It's not a big deal when you're just kind of like bumbling around town. But that noise, not exactly a fun city drive. People look, you call attention. People will literally yell at you and be like, your car's broken. So just be aware of that. Be aware that if you're gonna run track pads year round, it's kind of a nuisance. And the second big thing I do is I have a set of wheels and tires that I use specifically for the track. Now, I could run my Michelin PS4S's or a set of, Continental Extreme Contacts. However, those are my daily driver tires, and the amount of heat and brutality you put into this rubber, it's not great. So if you do plan on doing like, multiple track days a year, it's probably a good idea to get yourself a set of dedicated wheels and tires that you can just pop on and off and use. Because at the end of the day, first of all, your normal street tires, they will get worn. They will get worn very quickly. And it's nice not to worry that like, oh no, I'm destroying my streetable tires that are good for rain while I'm on a racetrack. Number two, if you do go out a couple times with your street tires, you'll very quickly find that like a normal extreme summer compound is not going to give you the grip you want, and they will start to fade away when you really do put a few laps on them, because they're not designed for that. They're not designed for that much heat. But really the thing to keep in mind most about tracking your daily driver is that your daily driver is not designed for the track, even if you have an M car. Really, I'm not joking about that. Your M3, its cooling system is designed to do a lap, to get the lap, and then shut it down. But like on a track day, you're gonna go out for anywhere from like 4 to 7 sessions. Ready for loud brakes? Oh, not bad. All right. And those sessions are going to be 20 minutes long. And 20 minutes does not sound like a long time to be driving, but 20 minutes is a very long time for a daily driven street car to go out and be abused. The amount of heat that your oil and water temperatures see are not normal, and it is not what the car is designed for. So unless you have gone and upgraded the cooling systems to accommodate for this, you're not going to be able to go and just full-blown hot lap 20 minutes. Which brings me to my next point. You don't have to do that. You don't have to go out on a racetrack with your daily driver and just beat the snot out of it to its last dying breath. You can actually, this is not a good road, you can actually just go out and be like an endurance racer. Have a good time, but you don't need to late brake every single corner. You can coast a little bit, let your car breathe, let it cool down a little bit. Don't be a jerk, make sure you're giving point buys and things when you do that. But I think the misconception of a track day is that you have to go out there and just beat the ever-living snot out of your equipment, and that's just not true. The point of the track day should be to get seat time. The point of the track day should be to drive your car in a manner in which you cannot drive it on the street. Your attitude at a track day is everything. There's different types of track days, because if you're out there at like a competitive track day where you're actually doing time trials, yeah, maybe there's a little more of a competitive edge to it, but chances are you're just going out with a club. Maybe there's a few instructors who are gonna help you find your lines, get a little faster, learn how to drive smoother and protect your equipment rather than destroy it, keep your hands in the correct place, things like that. That's what you wanna be out there for. You should also be checking in with yourself throughout a track day, because look, especially if you're going to a new track or you haven't been on a track for a long time, the first session is kind of like figuring out your lines, getting your feet wet a little bit. Second session, you push it a little further. Third session, you're like, all right, now we can go start setting some times. Maybe you break for lunch. Things always change after lunch at a track day. I swear to God, all the accidents always happen after lunch. That's when people start being like, all right, now I'm really ready to drive. Don't be the guy. I mean, look, I'm not blaming people who crash after lunch. I mean, it sucks, but like, don't be the guy who suddenly feels like super empowered to push boundaries that they weren't pushing before, or not listening to your car. Like sometimes people just ignore the tires and the brakes, telling them like, I'm kind of done here. Or, you know, suddenly you were stringing together like one hot lap at a time and it was great. Now you're trying to do like 3 because you found a buddy at the track day, and you're gonna go run with this buddy, and now you're ignoring all the warning signs that your heavy daily driver is trying to tell you, like, hey, we're not gonna make it around that corner as fast as the last time because these tires are way too hot. Or maybe you want to rethink this braking zone because this fluid's about to boil and your rotors are not cooling fast enough. So it's a very good idea to kind of check in with yourself and make sure, hey, am I good? Am I pushing further than I should be? Am I ignoring warning signs that something could be wrong? Is there a vibration I don't realize? Or have I just forgotten that my 100,000 mile daily driver is not in fact a race car while I am treating it like one? But more than just the car, are you fighting the car? Suddenly you find yourself in like a later session in the day and now you're not flowing as well, you're being aggressive. Those are also a good time to take a step back, go into the pits, take a breather, figure out, should you be driving right now? Like, are you just getting aggressive as a sick Cadillac? Or are you gonna be all right? Are you gonna like relax, stop white knuckling it and figure your way around this course? Because while of course there can be mechanical failures that are going to ruin your day, that's good stuff. It's probably you. It's probably you who's gonna crash this car because you were just getting a little too, you're biting off more than you should have. And even if the car's insured, just remember, if you don't have a trailer, you still need to get home, so it kind of sucks to have to call for a ride. And if you treat your daily driver as if it were a dedicated track car on a racetrack, it's gonna treat you the same way. It's gonna break. You're gonna break it and you're gonna have track toy problems. Track toy problems are not that much fun. So, like I said, make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into and drive your car only as hard as your wallet is prepared to deal with, because it really sucks to crash your car on a racetrack. With or without insurance, it sucks, but without, really bad. But if you blow up your motor, like, that's on you. You're gonna have to figure that out, and that's just not fun. And you need to make a personal assessment if that blown motor was worth the 0.3 of a second around the track faster than the last lap. Maybe it would have been worth that cool down, guys. Maybe it would have been okay had you not chased it so hard. So that's my advice. If you want to track your daily driver, I am so far behind you. Push it. Yes, do it. Have fun. But remember, you still have to take the car home. Remember to do maintenance. Remember, like, yeah, if you have like a slightly weeping valve cover gasket, it's not the end of the world. But check your wheel bearings. Make sure safety things are in check first. And then when you get used to this, if you want to keep doing this, you don't need to go get like, you know, remote reservoir JRZ suspension on your daily driver. You can just put some lowering springs, a nice set of wheels and tires, make it sticky, have fun, and enjoy driving. Get better at driving. That's the point. And then if you realize you want to be a little more hardcore, go get yourself a nice track car. Find an E36 M3. Find a Mazda Miata. I mean, I'm just assuming you're on a similar budget as me. But you know, maybe you can afford a 600 LT. Go for it. Have fun. But you can build pretty sweet, reasonably priced track cars, and you're just gonna have to be prepared for the fact that it might not start, or you might break it, and you're gonna become a backyard mechanic. That's a whole nother conversation. But thank you so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. If you took anything away from this, for the love of God, bleed your brakes, flush your brake fluid, get insurance. Those are the things. Those are the things. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see you in the next one.